Good day, friends. This is Nirvana. So, I've taken some time out recently to reflect over my goals for this little YouTube channel. My main priority being the liberation of males from suffering. This is where I got the name for my channel. About 4 years ago, I was heavily involved in the manosphere, and particularly in MGTOW itself and MGTOW adjacent groups. Given the absolutely shameless, toxic behavior of both males and females towards males during this time, it was only natural that many would come to question the equal society that they had never taken much notice of up until that point. I found that many males, especially during this time, started off as feminists or feminist supporters, fighting against the patriarchy, without having really a very good grasp of what exactly that meant. What is the patriarchy? The world having a majority of male CEOs? The wage gap? Or perhaps it's males spreading their legs a couple of inches too wide on the subway. Geez, who knows? A sizable portion of these males, not satisfied with simply being spoon-fed this information, started to do their own research, and maybe, if they were good little boys, they could get some random blue-haired chick to date them. Now, the internet was a much less censored place back then in relation to these topics, and most of these males probably stumbled upon the next logical evolution for males upon the empowerment tree. Anti-feminists. Males that, for their own reasons, rivaled against feminism, mostly by making snarky YouTube videos and articles on Reddit which chastise the feminist establishment for flagrant male abuse, as well as blaming the movement for the dissolving of the nuclear family. Given that at least some of these males still had some free-thinking neurons left firing in their brain, they switched to fight against feminism instead, to preserve the ideals of romantic indoctrination of family and Disney movies, something that feminism, of course, admonished. An even smaller portion of anti-feminist males, happy that they had made the transition, but unsure if they were happy with the whole anti-feminist manifesto, decided to delve a little deeper down the rabbit hole. And of course they found the red pill. Though not the red pill that I, or hopefully you, know it as, but as a shell of its former self, in which a bunch of alpha dudes behind their keyboards started attempting to enlighten males to female nature to increase their prospects of being able to pick up random chicks. This is, in large part, where pickup artists or PUAs sprung up out of, or at least where the term for said males gained a lot of popularity on the web. Of course, I can't really say that PUAs were any closer to male empowerment, as their whole purpose in this life seemed to be about working to increase their curve appeal, in the hopes of receiving female attention and validation, which is the very same thing that all other males are scrambling for in this world. At the end of the day, the system is, and has always been, completely stacked against them. It doesn't matter how much they felt they were in control. For males that really wanted to delve deep down the rabbit hole, there were two remaining options: men's rights and MGTOW. These two groups are indeed quite separate, even though they both discuss male issues. As I'm sure you're aware, I chose MGTOW. I did this because I seek the truth, the whole truth about human nature and societal machinations. I wanted the pure, unfiltered, painful truth, and I got it. Of course, at the time I was younger and less mature than I am now, so I can't really say that I truly understood the information that I was taking in on a deeper level. But something about it felt right. You see, where men's rights and MGTOW differ is where we lay the blame for the abuse of males, and also where we believe the solution lies. Men's rights groups postulate that current-day society is to blame, as many of the rights males do not receive, or the way they are left behind, is due to an outdated system, and that by rallying the troops and attempting to support males, we can reduce male workplace fatalities, the homeless rate, the male suicide rate, etc., etc. Though I have found that they have been able to accomplish little in the time they have been active, beyond perhaps combating new feminist legislation that would seek to make things even worse for males. MGTOW, however, is different. MGTOW posits the whole, unfiltered, unsavory red pill, with none of the sugarcoating. That is that, on an evolutionary basis, males are completely devalued and treated as disposable, by virtue of being the sex that is not capable of gestation. With reproduction being the main priority of any species, whether sentient or not, is it really a surprise that males would evolve to prioritize the welfare of females over males? And in this seed of nature grows a societal truism that nobody, not even men's rights activists, want to acknowledge. That being gynocentrism, the prioritization of female life and welfare above males. Cite as many sources to the contrary as you want, but you cannot deny the statistics and historical basis for this theory. If our society was truly built for males, then what of male drafting into wars? The male homicide, assault, homelessness, and suicide rate beating the female rates out of the park in virtually every country in the world? Chivalry, public male mockery, abuse, and sexual harassment that goes completely unnoticed, or is even encouraged. The empathy gap, which can be seen as males become invisible among victims of crime and injustice, as well as in the sentencing differentials between males and females for similar crimes. Career or possibly life ruination of a male from a single false accusation from a female or females. Male genital mutilation, which we kindly label as circumcision, to downplay this clear breach of human rights. Meager paternity rights for males. Divorce inequity, not to mention the presumption of guilt when faced with an accusation from any female for anything. I could go on and on and on. However, I would rather this video not reach past the hour mark. When up against a female for anything, males have no protections, as they are always at the mercy of a woman's word. This is especially relevant in false accusations of rape or domestic violence. We prioritize the protection of women over men because males are the disposable elements of humanity, a clear-cut fact that nobody, not even men's rights activists, want to acknowledge. This is why MGTOW proffers walking away from the game, whether that be disappearing, going off the grid entirely, or living simply within your means and rejecting involvement in society as much as humanly possible. It is not just the system that is against us, it is our very species and our biological programming. To this end, the only winning move is not to play. The whole system is steeped against males, and always will be. Until a time arrives in which we are capable and fully willing to change our very biological programming, there will be no equality for males in this world. Perhaps now you can see why I treat men's rights activists as largely unhelpful in the grand scheme of things. As a wise man once said, it's a lot like attempting to change the plow as you're pulling it. In reality, change can only be sparked when you rip off your collar and walk off the field. Oh, sure, they may eventually humor some of your pleas to keep you pulling, but at the end of the day, the field still gets plowed. The most effective route is to stop in your tracks and walk away. Though there are many flavors of this path, and the one I choose is what I believe to be the most effective. In particular, I proffer MGTOW monk philosophy, which means that I purposely abstain from sexual and romantic interactions with females. I do this for a variety of reasons. Firstly, and less importantly, I do it because the whole system is biased against me as a male. Divorce inequities, false rape and domestic violence cases, paternity fraud, indifference to male abuse, etc., etc. Not to mention the awareness of having a partner that is indifferent to your suffering, and one that would not care about your welfare above their own, especially in life or death situations. Why do you think that females are so averse to short males? In particular, males shorter than themselves. I've heard it over and over from females that they like to be with tall men, as this makes them feel safe. Translated for your convenience, this means that he will be willing to protect her in situations of physical danger or hazard, and use himself as a human shield to benefit her welfare. A taller female may feel slightly awkward about sending a vertically challenged male to go do the dying for them, so best that their partners are at least a couple of inches taller, to offload any complications in the sense of duty. The second reason for why I chose to go monk is because I am averse to the societal devaluation of myself and my brothers due to my relationship status. You see, as is gynocentric mandate, males must find females to protect, provide, and die for. But some wild, unscrupulous males may not be corralled into this act so easily. So we have a myriad of ways to get them to shove the bits in their own mouths, willingly. In particular, we devalue males from birth in comparison to females, and cause them to feel incomplete, helped along by our constant abuse and mistreatment of them, in particular, disallowing them from feeling strong emotions or affection for or from other males. This is, in large part, why so many traditionalist males chomp at the bit to call males gay in the event that they start to show any sort of mutual affection. If males truly started to care for one another and their collective welfare, they may start to question the mistreatment they and their brothers have been subjected to since birth. And this goes counter to being able to use them as tools. Best that we simply teach males to be cautious of one another. In fact, we pit males against each other from a very young age. Then we tell them that females are goodness, beauty, and purity, and thus they scramble for female validation and attention, for females to save them from this doomed existence. Males are such wonderfully creative, intelligent, and brilliant beings, who we devalue to mere table scraps for societal consumption. If you want to know what it is I'm fighting against, that is it. As I have worked for the past few years to attempt to return worth to myself, I have little, in fact, no interest in courting females, as I have everything that I could possibly need right here within myself. In fact, all males do. And within such a male devaluing system, I've little interest in participating. Really think about this for just a moment. If males were so dumb, so callous, so abusive, then what would males even have to offer females in a relationship? In reality, males give value to a relationship with their constant sacrifice for others, and they always have. Of course, as much as females like to posit that they are strong and independent, they know on some level that all of the creature comforts they enjoy are provided on the backs of males. And to this end, females have a vested interest in keeping males pulling the plow. The wheels of society demand blood, sweat, and tears, and I can assure you that females would much rather that this be given by the ugly, smelly, disposable apes. This is, in part, why females have invaded areas of the manosphere in recent years. Initially, they were happy to simply call us gay, jaded, fat losers, or incels, or both. And for the majority of males, this shaming tactic works a treat, causing them to put the collars back on around their necks. However, for more enlightened males, they see the shaming tactic for what it is, and continue on with their day. This makes the feminine collective sweat a little. If these weirdos were to reach critical mass, we may eventually have to submit to their demands, and start treating males as people with equal life worth, as opposed to tools used to serve and protect females and general society. This is, of course, unacceptable. So I have seen a growing number of females in red pill spaces, particularly amongst anti-feminists and men's rights activist groups, as many in these groups simply see feminism, or a subsection of it, as the issue, as opposed to gynocentrism, which in turn causes male disposability, the root cause of all of our issues. As such, as soon as these males see a red-pilled female talking about how feminists are dumb, or give some lip service to male issues every once in a while, they fall all over themselves to lavish her with affection and attention. They're so completely desperate for their validation fix. I can assure you that the second that any of these males happen to hook up with one of these females, they will all leave this weird hate cult behind so fast, the door won't even have time to hit them on the way out. One thing I've observed is that virtually no females have spent much time in MGTOW spaces, and for good reason. There's nothing there for them. The purest of these males are returning worth to themselves by valuing themselves and their lives, truly trying to live independent, with no female validation source. The shaming tactics fall on deaf ears, as we have little interest in chasing female approval. We have taken off our collars, and we have walked off the plantation. Why expend energy attempting to corral us into putting back on our collars, when these females can stay perched atop their marble thrones and cheer on the weaker males so that they do not eventually decide to leave? This is what is happening with females that infiltrate areas of the manosphere. Oh, sure, They will humor your blabbering about male issues, but the second you start to lean towards, say, walking away from society, or deciding not to get married, they'll butt in and say something to the effect of, "True love always wins," or, "I'm not like all of the other females, I care about males." It is all part of the plot to keep males pulling society, and it always will be. Without males, there is no society. There is no heat, electricity, and clean running water. Males provide and maintain all of these things. So it makes sense that some people may elect to take some time out of their days to make sure that males don't go on a mass exodus. As true warriors of male empowerment have no interest in being used as utilities, females are completely disinterested in us, but may eventually throw a couple of shaming tactics our way in front of other males as a warning sign that these guys are ones that males should avoid listening or talking to, lest they also be publicly mocked or shamed. Male empowerment warriors know that females are not our saviors, and the only way to return worth to ourselves is with ourselves. No sugarcoating, no romance, no moonlit dinners at the fancy restaurant down the street. The vast majority of these warriors reside within MGTOW. Unfortunately, an ever-shrinking community, I've found. After all, why stay when the alternative is so much better? Male empowerment and MGTOW offers only pain, suffering, alienation from peers, and mockery from others. All of that, on top of the unbearably heavy emotional load of the billions of males who are used, abused, and discarded that we can do little about. It really is no surprise that many males dip out of this place as fast as they can to go back to the fairy tales of romance and love. It is much easier to plug back into the Matrix and enjoy the warm comforts of a life you've always known, rather than staying to fight in a cold, indifferent world. But males that have true integrity, males that wish to fight injustice, to fight for true equality, will stay here with us to the end, whenever that may be. MGTOWs have something that these other groups could never hope to grasp: the truth. In more recent years, I've seen a massive dip in the popularity of both men's rights and especially MGTOW, which I attribute to females starting to once again feign innocence and kindness towards males. As feminists started to sweat a little under the collar when droves of males started to walk away from relationships during the mid to late 2010s. While I wish I could say that the reason our numbers have diminished is due to males deciding to truly go their own way and live their own lives, I do not believe that to be the case. I believe the vast majority of dudes have plugged back in and put their collars back on because the feminist extremist wave has mostly passed, or at least is less visible in the public eye. I find this to be extremely disappointing, as a small-scale societal shift was beginning to take place with all of these anti-feminist and anti-establishment groups. Males, once again, completely underestimate the public power that they wield. Gynocentrism, male disposability, these things only exist because we, males, let them. If we gave worth to males and told them that they were just as wondrous and amazing as everyone else, females that would push gynocentric narratives would be seen as the bigoted individuals that they are, prioritizing the welfare of one group above the other simply because of the way they were born. In reality, males defined everything in our world, including its current paradigm. If all, or even a majority of males, put down what they were doing and demanded fair and equal treatment, with the threat of checking out from society if they did not receive it, there would be no recourse for gynocentrism. We would lay it to bed and embark on a new, enlightened era of human history in which all are valued simply for being. Females that give lip service to male issues will never truly save males, as it is our elevation of female worth and denigration of male worth that causes all of this male wreckage and abuse. Do you really think that females are going to collectively drop down from their thrones of gestation, innocence, purity, and motherhood to give birth to the ugly, dirty, raping apes? Please. They would have to settle for an inferior form of treatment in general society in order for things to be equal or unbiased between the sexes, and that is not optimal for self, especially with the general theme of females for the past few years being demanding more and more from males, not less. Though on some level, as much as they demean males and call them useless, they know that males service, protect, and maintain everything. As stated previously, this is why some are taking time out of their days to try and get males to plug back into the Matrix. Remember, men, they need you. You do not need them. You never have. All of your worth, all of your beauty and brilliance has been inside of you since day one. I just wish you had been told that before now. In the end, it comes down to this. Do you want fair treatment for males? For humans as beings to truly live by the rules of morality and equality that we pat ourselves on the back with? Then walk away from the game. Do not engage in unequal relationships with females, and show society just how important you are by not engaging in it. Value males, for they are infinitely beautiful and special. This is the road to true male empowerment. Until next time, brothers, keep safe.